Welcome, everyone. It's good to see you. I'm glad that everyone decided to take time out of their Sunday evening and spend a little time with me. Everyone, it's good to see you. I'm glad that TGI, it is a song by Tech Death, and it is absolutely beautiful. It's called the Requiem. Hey, Maria, I'm so glad you're here. RJ Primary, it's good to see you. So glad you're here. I hope it's going to be a good night. I have something pretty serious that I want to talk about tonight. And I spent most of today doing my video on this subject. I was hoping that my video would be done so that we could watch it together tonight, but it's not completely done. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and talk about the topic, and then I'll drop the video after the live is over, so you guys can watch the video. Hey, Lipsha, good to see you. So glad you was able to come tonight. So I'm going to wait just a couple more minutes to see if anybody else is coming in, and then we'll get started with what the topic is for tonight. How's everybody been? Everybody enjoy their Sunday, their weekend. Our weather here was kind of cold. We got snow. I'm over the snow. I can tell you that. I think I'm ready for spring, and I know it's coming soon. I agree with you, Maria. Me too. I don't know where everybody else is located. I do know that DMG is in Scotland, which is absolutely beautiful. I love Scotland. I have relatives in Scotland. So I love Scotland. It's so beautiful. So I just want to go ahead and welcome everyone to Behind the Crime Door. And what my subject is going to be tonight is Delphi, where is our empathy? And I'm in Illinois as well, Glow. I'm in Central Illinois. So where is our empathy gone? I don't know if any of you have noticed, but it seems like we are on a real slippery slope in our community around Delphi. And some of the content that's being broadcast throughout our community regarding family members' involvement in the murders and disrespecting family members, disrespecting the girls. I'm just really over it. And I have decided that enough is enough. And after my last live, where I had people actually here in my live trying to share their narrative about Kelsey, I decided that it was time to put out a video and also talk about it in a live. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So if you are a proponent of these accusations, this may not be the live that you want to be in. Because my mods have strict instructions on how my channel is to be ran, and that's one of the things that I will not allow in here for any reason. So I just want everybody to be aware of that. I've noticed recently, especially probably within the last month or so, an increase in finger pointing towards Kelsey German in some way being involved or knowing more than she is telling about Abby and Libby's murders. This has no bearing in fact whatsoever. These assumptions are being made by individuals are merely perpetuating horrific trauma and re-victimization of Kelsey. And I'm quite tired of it, and I felt the need to do a video and a live stream about the effects that these kinds of baseless accusations can have on someone's life. Hey, Annie, it's so good to see you. Queen of Denial, Katsy Klein. Thank you so much for coming this evening. I so appreciate it. So, losing a loved one through an act of violence can be devastating for a family. No one can ever be prepared for such a loss, and no amount of counseling, prayer, justice, restitution, or compassion can ever bring their loved one back. The survivor's world is abruptly and forever changed. The awareness that your loved one's dreams will never be realized hits you suddenly. Life can suddenly lose meaning, and many survivors report that they cannot imagine ever being happy again. Furthermore, victims of homicide are often undervalued because of the apparent or real blame that is attributed to them. Friends and family may question the victim's lifestyle, wondering how and if they knew the murderer. They might make comments such as, "They were in the wrong place at the wrong time," when this is simply not true. Questioning the innocence of a victim is very hurtful to the surviving family members. And victim blaming can have many negative and devastating effects on the innocent victims who have been deemed at fault, even though they bear no responsibility for the crime which has been committed against them or their loved ones. One effect this victim blaming has is on reporting of further crimes. When people see victims being blamed, especially women, reporting of further crimes are less likely to happen because of the negative responses that other victims have suffered. Victim blaming, along with affecting a victim's decisions to report crimes, can also impact on a confidant's willingness to support a victim's decision, a witness's willingness to testify, authorities' commitment in pursuing cases and prosecuting offenders, and a jury's decision to convict, a prosecutor's decision to recommend incarceration, and even a judge's decision to impose carceration. Why is there an outcry over certain missing persons and not others? Why do some crimes evoke a national outpouring of rage, grief, and sympathy for the victim and their families? What happens when there are no sympathetic human interest stories about the survivors and their pain and suffering? Victim blaming can have numerous negative effects on crime victims. The media can be callous and insensitive when discussing what happened to the victim. They may paint the victim in a negative light by saying they somehow deserved what happened to them, or perhaps they were not really victims, but in fact the offender. Crime is often about violence, power, and control. It needs to be made clear that no one deserves it. Most importantly, the victim blame approach is neither effective in resolving problems of violence or protecting future generations from continuing the cycle of abuse. Of all the consequences suffered as a result of crime, the anguish experienced in those cases where a relative is killed stands alone, and especially when it is a child. The trauma of bereavement is no doubt made even worse by the suddenness of the loss and the knowledge of the circumstances in which it occurred. It is sobering, if not surprising, that bereavement through crime is so often followed by loss of employment, the breakdown of relationships, and mental health problems. Being wrongfully accused of criminal offenses can lead to serious negative consequences to those wrongfully accused and their families. The secondary trauma of families of those who are wrongfully accused cannot and should not be overlooked. The anxiety and depression, the stigma and shame that is involved when someone is wrongfully accused can lead to long-term mental health issues for all involved. Isolation because they fear going into public and have people pointing fingers at them. Unable to sleep due to night terrors, which can have major physical impacts on their health. How does social media affect court cases? Social media posts and even private messages regularly end up being used in a criminal case as evidence against a defendant. Everything that is posted on social media, or even words and phrases searched on your computer, are subject to being found by law enforcement and being used against you in a court of law. Everyone needs to follow the general rule that you should think twice before you post anything. One thing that happens online quite often is cyber stalking. And this is one of the most common charges. Social media is being used to send unwanted, harassing, and sometimes frightful messages to others. Soliciting minors through less common, though less common, these are cases where adults are found to have been talking with minors about sex or making plans to meet up for sex. One of the major problems that we see from the state's perspective is that even though there are communications, it is not unusual to find that a defendant does not even know the other person is a minor. One of the other things that happens on social media is doxing. Now, the general idea for doxing is that someone puts out private information about someone else, causing that person to be in fear. And the best example of this is person A puts person's B address out on Facebook, knowing that person B is likely to be harassed by other people at that address. Now, in today's day and age, social media plays such an important role in everyone's lives that oftentimes law enforcement actually begins their investigation by using social media. Think about it. If law enforcement finds out that there was a shooting at a party, for example, it makes sense to see if they can find out the names of a few people at that party. Then they can look up those persons' social media accounts, see if they uploaded any videos or pictures. And then they can work towards tracking down everyone in those photographs or videos and use them as potential witnesses. Be careful what you put out there, because whatever picture or video that you share could end up being Exhibit A at your trial or someone else's. Please post responsibly. Thank goodness court cases are not decided based on what people have to say on social media, or everyone would be found guilty, and the punishments would be cruel. Social media has given people the unabashed confidence to voice their unfiltered and unwanted opinion. Everyone is an expert, and everyone thinks that their opinion is fact. When a story makes headlines of a crime, the comment threads are filled with people thinking that they know better than the authorities and express the punishment the suspect should receive. It's a good thing society has moved away from public stonings, don't you think? My mind frequently drifts to one of my favorite plays, The Crucible. Without any concrete evidence, 19 innocent people were hung and one was pressed to death. Today, many would express their bafflement towards such acts, and if you read comments on social media today, you can see very well how this can happen. As in the case of Abby and Libby, and the family members being accused of their involvement, my mind goes here. Who are you? What if you are wrong? What if it was you? What if it was your sister? What if your cold and cruel accusations are incorrect? We struggle with the idea that we are wrong. However, we have been and will continue to be wrong throughout our lives. We are not investigators in this case. We are simply here to cover and tell the facts of the case and to bring about knowledge to others who have never heard of Abby and Libby. We're not here to solve this case beyond popular belief of those who continue to press and press that the family has some knowledge or involvement in these awful crimes. If you're wrong, put yourself in the place of these families, and please, especially Kelsey. Her sister has been abducted and brutally murdered, along with her best friend, whom Kelsey loved like a sister. She was the person who took her to that location that day. She was the one who told her no, she could not go with her that day. And now, anytime she goes online, she is being blamed for her sister's death. Could you even begin to imagine how that would make you feel? I can't. Do you not think for one moment that law enforcement and the FBI have looked hard at these individuals and vetted them? They are the very first people to have been looked at in this crime. They all have solid alibis and they have no motives. Kelsey was interviewed numerous times by the FBI, and she admitted this more than once. And she was a mere 16 years old when her sister was brutally murdered. You can't even fathom what that must have been like for her that day, standing on that hill and hearing that they had found her sister, and her wanting to run to her and to hold her and tell her everything was going to be all right, only to find out that she had been brutally murdered. You sit behind your computer screens and you make videos and content accusing her, like there are no consequences for your actions, like this will have no lasting effect. This case is extremely high profile, and it will have an enormous public media attention until Bridge Guy is apprehended and has his day in court. Your accusations are nothing short of provoking an atmosphere of public lynching with no evidence whatsoever to back up your claims. You are no better than a lynch mob. You hold yourselves to no standards whatsoever, and you have absolutely no integrity. If you honestly believe after 5 years that Kelsey German has something to do with this crime, there is something seriously wrong with you. Have we completely lost our capability for empathy? Social media has taken away our empathy and left us cold and cynical. We've thrown out the old adage, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. You hide behind your keyboards, cruel cowards just waiting to hang the next person in a long line of victims. Now, I'm sick and tired of this, and I'm sick and tired of people on social media with no regard for facts, blaming victims or survivors, or accusing Kelsey of this horrible crime or any other family member. And I felt the need to speak out about it. I know I'm going to take a lot of flack for this live and the video that will come after, but you know what? I don't give a damn. Many things have been said and taken out of context and misconstrued and then posted in posts, comments, and videos to make it fit a narrative of family guilt in this case. Once you post on social media, assume it is there forever. If you delete something right away, someone somewhere could have screen captured it or copied it. These families have gone through so much already. The loss of their child and their sister. Why the hell don't you do something constructive for this case rather than play to conspiracy theories and shock and awe videos accusing the families? It is not a good look and really questions your reasons for even covering these cases or any other cases for that matter. Yes, law enforcement has said they cannot clear anyone in this case for legal reasons and will use the word covered when referring to family and Ron Logan. What does covered mean? Covered means that they know they do not have any involvement, but they may not have actual evidence that indicates that. What does cleared mean? Cleared means that they have actual evidence they know belongs to the perpetrator of these crimes, and a cleared individual doesn't match that evidence. When accusing Kelsey German of this crime or culpability in it, you are purposefully putting out misinformation intentionally. Why would you do that? What is your agenda? So please, stop acting like you know better than law enforcement in this case, because you don't. We don't. None of us do. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is my thoughts for the evening. And we can get to discussing them. I hope that you didn't find that too harsh. It took me all day to get that out and get it down on paper to where I could feel good about what I was saying. um, it was emotional. There was a point there when I was telling you guys what I was saying. I wanted to cry because I'm so invested in this case for these girls, and I feel so bad for Kelsey. Couple nights ago in my live, some people stopped by and wanted to start screaming that Kelsey should be looked at harder and all the other things that go along with it. And my mods were wonderful and they helped to shut it down. But I just really wish people would take a step back and think about what you're saying and who's listening. I mean, it's like the family could be in here right now with us watching and saying nothing. And they could be in anyone's live on YouTube. And I always have that in the back of my mind, whether it's here or in my Reddit sub when I'm writing there and putting together an article or something to share on my sub, it's the same thing. I always have in the back of my mind, what if a family member is in here with me? What if they're reading this? So, I think that that's most of you guys that are here right now aren't the people that need to hear this. Um, the people that need to hear this are the ones that'll probably not listen. But it needs to be shared. It needs to be shared everywhere. So please like and share my video when it comes out. I don't care where you share it to Facebook, share it everywhere, because I'm here to tell you, if this continues, and I know that there are more content creators that are going to be putting out similar videos and having similar live streams talking about this very topic. And we've all decided, if people don't want to listen to us and don't want to stop with this uh, content crap, we're going to just keep shouting it. We're going to just keep making videos. We're going to keep talking about it, because I just can't say enough. I try to put myself in their shoes. It's hard enough for them to get up every single morning and put one foot forward and go about their day without us adding to it with this kind of thing. I watch Kelsey's Twitter. I'm friends with her on Instagram, and when she posts, and she's posting from the heart, and you can just see that she's hurting. It's just there's just nothing more that can be said. I mean, we've all seen the bullying that goes on social media. Some of us in this very chat right now have had it happen to us. And I say, to hell with the bullies. We're not going to put up with it anymore. We're not going to allow these people to run ramshot over us and try to scare us and keep us from living and doing the things that we love. I think about Becky and Anna all the time, and Anna has been so quiet through this whole thing. She really does grieve in a different way. She grieves so privately. And my love for her and the kindness that I want to show to her is written all over it's written all over my Reddit. It's going to be written all over my YouTube channel. Because she's one of those people. She's not going to speak out. She's going to remain behind the scenes, but I guarantee you she reads and she watches and she pays attention to what's being said out there. And I have seen her in a couple of Facebook groups lash out at people. So I do know that she is watching. And I know for a fact Becky is. I've spoken to Becky. So I know that Becky keeps a close eye on what is happening all around social media. So just in knowing that makes me want to keep things very factual, truthful, and honest. I don't have an agenda. I've told everyone who comes to my channel, who watches my channel, this isn't about subscribers to me. This isn't about monetization. You'll never see any monetization on any of these types of videos. I don't want to make money off of this. That's not my purpose. Now, I know that it's okay to support a channel and to support a content creator, because it does take time. I spent all day preparing for this live and doing my video. So that's time that we take out of our lives to do that. So I understand that people want to support channels, and I'm not against that. I'm not. All I'm saying is that I think you guys know what I'm talking about. You can tell the people that are here for the right reasons, and you can tell the people that are here for the wrong reasons, that are just trying to make a buck off of the back of two dead little girls. And I just couldn't stay silent anymore. So how are you guys feeling? How do you feel about my subject matter tonight? Let me look over some of the comments here. Sean Harmon, welcome. Good to see you here. Let me go back here a ways and let me see. You guys are so kind. TGI, thank you so much for that. I'm glad that there are others out there that think the same way, and that see this as an injustice and something that needs to be stopped or righted. Those people they're doing those things, instead of subscribing to their channels, we need to run from their channels in the opposite direction. And that's just the way I feel, because if we don't give them a voice on a platform, maybe they'll stop. That's my hope. Gemma, is it Galgani? So nice to see you. Thank you for stopping in. Hold on. I don't know if I'm lagging, but my chat seems to be a little slow. Thank you, Slinging Lead. I'm so glad that you love the channel and that you're here. I do appreciate you. Yes, Sean, everybody here is nice. That's what the channel is about. It's about being welcoming and having a nice discord about Delphi. Oh, where's Annie's comment? Where did it go? My comments are just weird. Hey, Marvelous. How are you? It's so nice to see you here. So what do you guys think about that? I mean, do you feel that Kelsey's being attacked way too much on social media right now? Are you guys seeing it? Are you witnessing it? Because I feel there's been an influx. What do you guys think are some of the things that we as content creators can do to stop it? I agree, Annie. It frustrates me too. I agree, Maria. I just don't understand it. Truly don't. I know, Marvelous. It's really crazy. You know, I've been on YouTube for quite some time, but just starting my channel this year, I just can't get over all the stuff that's been going on just since December, but it just seems to be getting worse. Agreed, AJ. I do. Thank you, Lipsha. I hope you're right, and I hope my new video that I'm going to drop will open some eyes to having more empathy for these families, and especially for Kelsey, Cody, and Derek. I didn't mention Cody and Derek in my video, and I should have. But I will definitely be doing more videos on this subject, so they'll get mentioned. But I see a lot of people bad-mouthing Derek for not speaking out publicly for the last 5 years. And I will tell you that as a mother who buried my 4-year-old son to cancer, it was easier for me to speak publicly. It helped me. But for my husband, It was one of the most horrific things he would ever go through. He still has trouble talking about it, even now. So don't be so judgmental on Derek. He was in a situation where he was right there and his little girl was murdered or being murdered while he was there. And I can't even imagine what that poor man has to go through every day, reminded of that, because Derek loved Libby. He loved her and she loved him. And I know if there had been anything that he could have done to prevent that, he would have done that. I mean, it's really hard to judge people when you've never walked in their shoes. And I will say that. We all think we know how we would react to something, but you truly do not know unless you actually have it happen to you. And especially when it comes to a child's death or a child's murder, you have no way of knowing how you're going to react to that. And everyone grieves so much differently than others. No one's walk down the path of grief and bereavement of your child is the same. And we have no business. I agree. I agree, Marvelous. We don't have the right to judge. We are who do we think we are that we can sit out there and point fingers at these people and judge them? Um, yeah, Derek has been talked about by his mother and by Kelsey, and they support him in being quiet. He's an introvert. He's not a person who likes to be in front of a camera. So that's going to make it difficult in the first place. And he owes the public nothing. Absolutely nothing. He's already paid his dues to the law enforcement and they've covered him. He has no involvement in this crime. So he doesn't owe us anything. And I just wish people would leave him alone. Oh, TG, I am so sorry to hear that. Sorry, Glow. Sorry, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's a topic that we could talk about as well, suicide, because it affects so many people. All the ones who are left behind that love that person. It's just gut-wrenching, the pain that you feel from that loss. RJ, you're so right. It's funny. It's like some of these people truly believe they know better than law enforcement. They believe that they have the inside information. I am so sick of listening to these content creators, Facebook group people, and Reddit people who sit there and try to tell us that they have inside information, but they're not going to tell us who their inside information is. Do you know how easy it is to put out a false narrative and misinformation using that very statement? Well, I'm not going to tell you who that is. It could be anybody. It could be nobody. It's just like Graz's live that he did the other night on Lee Kerr. I mean, could be anybody, right? And it might not be true. So, I mean, the facts in the case are the facts. We need to stick to the facts and we need to cover them. And we need to if there's new people coming into our case every single day and they don't know everything that's happened the last 5 years. The last thing that I want them to hear is people accusing Kelsey. Annie, that is such a wonderful thing to remember. It's just a wonderful thing to remember. Compassion is something that we're lacking in our society, and it's sad. And it's definitely lacking in our Delphi community. Um, and I'm tired of it. I'm just tired of seeing it. So I'm going to speak out about it now that I have a platform to do it on. I just think that what AJ said here is so perfect, because how can people justify accusing the family members? They preach about caring so much about Abby and Libby, yet they attack the people that love them the most. It baffles the mind, really. And I mean, we look at the suspect that is on the FBI website poster. Does it look like Kelsey German? Does anybody think Kelsey German's bridge guy? I mean, come on. We just need to squash it everywhere we see it. And if you are a content creator and you're in my channel right now, if you have people come into your channel in your lives doing what they did to me 2 days ago, please do everything in your power to stop it, and just send them on their way, because that's the only way we're going to stop it. So, I mean, it's, that's a wonderful thing. That's awesome. It's really hard not to think of them every day. It's hard to not think of them every waking moment. And I'm sure that in the Patty household, it's quite silent. I mean, Kelsey's not living there anymore. And it's just, I'm sure the smell of baked cookies, because Libby used to love to come home from school and drop her backpack and immediately start making chocolate chip cookies for the family, for everybody. She would just do that. And little things like that. It's just really, it just breaks my heart. So I know that, Maria, I've seen that too. It just makes me sick that say that that's Kelsey in disguise. And I agree, these people aren't rational, and there's something seriously wrong. I've often wondered, I truly believe that bridge guy's out there watching, listening, and I often wonder if he is part of whomever is trying to make a muck of the Delphi community with all these conspiracy theories and crazy ideas that seem to come along in cycles, or if it's someone who supports him and is trying to deflect eyes off of him, because there's got to be a reason why this happens. It's just crazy. And I know that when there is a vacuum of information, that we tend to like to fill that vacuum as human beings. And I know that, but we have to be careful. And for those on YouTube and other social media platforms that have large followings, they need to be careful of the narrative that they are spreading out there, because there are people that will grab onto a word or a phrase and run with it and act as if it's fact when it's opinion or it's a theory, and posting videos and saying this is absolute fact when there's no basis at all for it being fact, in my opinion, is the lowest of the low. And there have been videos this week posted on Delphi from some very well-known content creators. I'm not going to call them out, but I can tell you that there are some videos out there right now where they do just that. They come right out and call their opinion fact. And it's crazy. I think it's important that we get back to integrity in our creating and honesty and fact based reporting on this case. Sure, would I like to know a little bit more information? Of course I would. I'm not different from anybody else out there. But I also know that law enforcement doesn't owe it to me. And what do I want more than that information? I want Bridge Guy caught. I want Bridge Guy apprehended. I also want Bridge Guy to go to court. And I want the case against him to be solid. And social media can taint that. Social media can cause things to happen in that case that can cause Bridge Guy to get off. Have people thought about that? Because what we post, what we say, and what we do can absolutely ruin or taint a jury pool. And I just don't think people stop and think about it. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that don't think for themselves. They jump on a bandwagon with someone else and they go with it. And I wish I would be able to see more critical thinking going on out there around this case. People learning to think for themselves and make their own opinions and their own judgments. And I like that. Reading their crystal balls or tarot cards. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of those out there as well. And I'm not here to bash anybody that believes in tarot card reading or spirit boxes or any of that, mediums or any of that kind of thing out there. Because I do believe there are chosen people that are able to feel or sense things. Are they everyone that professes to be one? No, by far no. But the way people come up with theories and ideas about this case, and how they intertwine those theories around this maypole is the way I describe it, to weave them in a narrative that makes sense, is crazy. You can't do that. You have to follow the evidence. You have to follow the facts. And what is that, RJ? What are you going to remember before you post anything else about this case? I'm curious as to what you're thinking. I agree, Maria. I totally agree. They start to suffer from groupthink and it spirals. It's just like I said when I was going through my my presentation to you at the beginning of my live. It's like lynch mob behavior. It is. It's to me. It's just no different, and they just jump through these hoops to get to where their theory or their idea makes sense, and the actual facts that we have in the case don't even come close to being there. So, I mean, we have to be able to put whoever killed the girls in that meadow, in that little bowl area in the woods with them that day. If they're not able to be put there, then they're not going to be guilty of this crime. And we know that Kelsey has an alibi. Kelsey wasn't there. She was with her boyfriend at his house. So I don't know what more people need to know. But she wasn't wearing Bridge Guy's clothes. She wasn't on the bridge. She didn't disguise her voice as a gruff speaking male. I just, oh yes, RJ, yes, thank you. Because they can. Social media can taint a conviction and it can also taint a jury pool. We have to be very careful. A good defense attorney can absolutely use the things that are said on social media to try to prove their client innocent, especially when there's 75 or 100 theories on other possible POIs. So that's why I've never had a POI in this 5 years. And yes, I've thought about people, but I would never put it on social media. I would never go on out and say, "Oh, I think it's this guy," or "I think it's this guy," or "He looks like the guy." I'm not going to do that because I think it's wrong. First of all, if those people are innocent, we can ruin their lives forever. And I think that there's some people um, that are surrounding this case right now that have had that very thing done to them by content creators who pretended to be their friends or pretended to care about them and basically called them bridge guy. And I think that that is absolutely horrific. So I just think that we need to get rid of that mentality and focus more on what can we collectively do as a group and as content creators and um, bring light and love to this case, because that's what the families need to see occasionally. There is so much um, bad stuff surrounding the case. It's a murder case. Um, to see content creators covering the case and just cutting up and being disrespectful, to me, that's disrespectful. Um, this isn't a place for me to play games with you. It's not a place for me to joke with you when I'm talking about Delphi. This is a place where we come to talk about a very serious matter. Now, does that mean that we can't have a good discord or a good conversation um, after I stop talking about Delphi and we want to put Delphi off to the side and we stop talking about it and we talk about something else? That's perfectly fine. But while you're on the subject of Delphi, I find that disrespectful to the girls. And, um, you know, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to have the same thought processes that I have. I want my channel to be able to have different ideas here within reason. So we're not going to go off the deep end with theories in my channel. So, because I always feel like I can learn something from someone else's point of view. That's why on my subreddit, I always ask people, it's okay to post your theory as long as you're telling us it's your theory and it's not some crazy, incredible thing that has absolutely no possibility of being true. Remember, you have to place the person you're thinking or the theory you have at that location, that day, at that time. And if you can't do that, which I don't think any of us can at this point because we don't know enough. I think that's where I was going with that, is that we just don't have enough information. But I just think that we need to think about those things. And it's hard. We all want this to be resolved. We all want Bridge Guy caught. More than anything. I mean, it's been 5 years and we wanted it the first day. We wanted it the second day, the third day. You know, we were hopeful that this was going to be over. So I understand everyone's feeling like it's taken too long and we need to get on with it. And I get where everybody says, "Oh, law enforcement doesn't know anything. They're not doing anything." You have no way of knowing that. And I'm sorry, but everything points to the yes, they do know something. And I think they're on to something big. I think they know what direction they're headed with it. I think they know exactly who they have in their sights. And I think that we're going to all be surprised. And I think it's coming. I believe Doug Carter. And I believe that that man cares more about this case than anyone could possibly imagine. Um, I really do. And I also think that Tobe does. I know that he takes a lot of flack. There's been things that I've given him flack for. I was very upset the fact that that man called off that search that night and didn't bring in dogs right away, because I think the dogs could have helped find a path that bridge guy left. I think we would have known a lot more. But at the same time, I also remember an interview with Tobe where he talked about he has the video of Bridge Guy and the audio of Bridge Guy on his cell phone. And when he goes home and he's sitting on his couch watching the game, he'll flip that on and he will listen and watch that video over and over again. And he really does believe he's heard that voice before. And that to me just gets me. I mean, I just get all just like goosebumpy when I think about that, because, you know, he's a sheriff. He's seen a lot of criminals. He's seen a lot, and and knows a lot of people in a count. You know, Carroll County is a pretty decent sized county. And hey, Modern Crime and Cards, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. Um, and I think that he cares more than people give him credit for. I can't imagine a law enforcement officer out there that walked upon that crime scene that day and saw those two girls lying there that didn't have immense emotion and uncontrollable rage of who could have done this and we're going to get him. I mean, I just can't imagine. If you don't, you're not human. I mean, you just aren't. What is AJ saying here? Defense attorneys have been known to build a case based upon social media comments and theories and have won over the jury. They are many sheeples following ridiculous, uninformed leaders down rabbit holes. Boy, is that the truth. And that's one of my points that I was trying to make earlier. Because if you get, it just takes a really, really good defense attorney to pull up social media around this case and look at everything. Good night, Marvelous. Thank you so much for coming. You have a great evening. And see that the discord and the comments and the posts around this case could easily help their quest to get their defendant off. And I think that we need to just remember that so much. I agree with you. I think that it was a horrible scene. And for those law enforcement officers that actually have children, I just can't even imagine anything more worse than to come on two bodies that were brutally murdered of children. It's just got to be something that, like they've said, you can't unsee it once you see it. And I just think that we need to be less judgmental of them and give them a little pat on the back for being able to stay resilient and continue going through these tips. And the amount of tips that they've had in this case has just been unbelievable. And it takes a lot of time to go through those tips and vet them. Catsy, that I can truly believe. We had a similar case like that here in my area where it was a house fire and 6 children passed away in that fire, along with 2 grandparents and a mother. It was terrible. And I can't even imagine what law enforcement had to have felt that night. But yeah, they do care. I don't think they go into that line of work if they don't care. if they did, they wouldn't stay very long. Let's put it that way. But I think that one of the things about, and you're right, modern crime, that's true. That's one of the things I always point to. Doug Carter has told us for a long time that they know a lot, and that one day they'll be able to tell us why they've done what they've done. And he will be thrilled when that day comes because he wants us to know. He wants to know what's happening and what's happened, why they've chosen to do the things they have done. It's strategic. He told us this just a week ago. Everything that they're doing right now is strategic. It's planned. It's carefully thought out, and they have a reason for every single move they're making. They're working closely with the FBI, and I guarantee you the FBI is not going to just let them just randomly say things or just randomly throw something out. Like people, I've heard people say, well, don't listen to Doug Carter. He's completely off his rocker and he just is like a Hollywood guy. And that's not true. I mean, if you go back in the early days of the investigation and you look at Doug Carter when he was in front of the camera, the pain on that man's face when he would talk about it, Abby and Libby and the case and going forward. And then if you fast forward to just the last month and a half, and now in the last 2.5 weeks, you can see the change in him and you can see the change in his face and his voice. I think he feels much more confident. He's speaking directly to Bridge Guy, and and he's like, see you soon. We'll meet you soon, and sleep well. Those are all kinds of things that, you know, I don't think they're just a flippant way for him to behave. So, hey, Bruce, how are you? Good to see you back here. Um, and Gemma, I agree. It has affected him deeply. And it makes me mad when people attack him as well. I don't like it. I just don't. And I know, and I agree with everyone that law enforcement is not always right. Law enforcement has made mistakes. Law enforcement has um, bungled other cases. Law enforcement has done things dishonestly against the law. I agree with all of those statements. But I believe in this case, we're not looking at any of that. And I will be highly surprised if we were to find out differently. When I found out through research and listening to videos and interviews on this case that this case had been presented to James Comey, the director of the FBI, I knew that this case was important and that this case has a lot of weight. And it's not just local to Carroll County. It's not just local to Indiana. The federal government's paying attention to what's happening in this case. And they want the case solved as well. It's not every day that 2 girls are murdered, and especially 2 teenage girls. Those are very, very rare crimes. Um, so, and I know that there's others out there that aren't solved yet. I mean, I'm very well versed on Evansville and um, Elizabeth and Lyric's case. But all I can say to that is, yeah, sometimes it takes a while to catch people. I'm not giving up on that case. I hope that they can find who did that as well. But you can't take hope away from the families, because when you take hope away, you don't have anything else. And that's what I think a lot of people do when they start be naysayers and cynics and say everything is so awful and horrible about this case and they're never going to solve it. Hello, Melissa. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming. German Trimmer, hello. Good to see you. But yeah, I really think that excuse me, we're going to see movement in this case this year. I feel confident about it. And I think there's a lot going on that we're not aware of. And that's as it should be, because we don't need to know everything. We just need, exactly, Slinging Lead. We just need to keep the faith. We just need to keep talking about the case and keeping people interested in talking about it so that more people will tip in information. What was that, Bruce, about 14 in the 2019 press conference? Gemma says, I ask those who criticize law enforcement or anyone else for that matter, are you perfect? Have you ever made mistakes? Why do you hold law enforcement to a standard that isn't humanly possible to attain? Wow, that is so well said. That is absolutely so well said. Gemma, thank you. Because it's the truth. You can't hold them to a standard that you're not willing to hold yourself to. And that kind of brings us around full circle with what the topic was tonight about where is our empathy in Delphi. The Delphi community has really lost its empathy towards the families and towards Kelsey. And it just really needs to stop. And we need to bring back that humanity and compassion to this case. And remember that we're not just talking about a case. We're talking about human beings and lives, and people's emotions and feelings are all wrapped up in that. And to an extent that we can't even begin to understand. And I'm talking about Becky and Mike Patty and Derek and Cody and Tara and Kelsey and Anna and her parents and her brother and all the other family members. I mean, it's just, we all make mistakes, AJ. It's so true. Everyone makes mistakes in their jobs, in their lives, and they're doing the best they can. And the fact that these same investigators have been on this case since day one, I mean, that's 5 years of their lives every single day going to work. Can you imagine the stress and the load of that for them? I think about that every day because I know when I worked in the hospital and how stressful that was. And for me every day, I can't even imagine what it must have been like for them every single day to go in knowing not only are you looking at this case that has it's so complex and there's so many layers and you're trying to do the right thing and you're trying to get to the bottom of it. And out here on social media, you're absolutely being vilified because you're not doing it fast enough to make the public happy. And man, it must be nice to feel so superior that that you can say that about them, because I just, it's just sad any way you look at it. They're stronger than me, Annie, as well. And I'm with you on that, Melissa. I pray that they will move mountains. I think they've moved a lot. And I even see it in the families' faces. I see it when Kelsey talks. I think that she is feeling a lot more confident that they're going to get in. And I just think that we need to follow along and support them any way we can. And for everyone out here that I'm talking to tonight that is in a Facebook group or in a Reddit sub or wherever you may be listening from, go back with what you've heard tonight and make sure you listen to my video. I'm going to drop it when I'm done with my live. And take that video and share it, because people need to hear it. They need to hear about what's happening in this community and the people that are spreading disinformation and, accusing family members of murder. or culpable in a murder. It's horrific. And all it does is re-victimize them. And I'm here to tell you, I'm not going to let that happen. And I know that other content creators aren't either. So, but anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end my live tonight. I want to thank you guys all for coming. I so appreciate you supporting me and supporting this topic. And I hope that you will continue to support the families any way that you can. And that to me means that if you see somebody saying something that bothers you, speak up. Don't just sit back and let them do it, because all that does is give them free rein to continue. We all know when something isn't right. We all know when something feels wrong and that, we're ashamed of, or they should be ashamed of. And Melissa, thank you so much. I'm glad you found my channel too. I'm so glad that you're here. And I appreciate each and every one of you. And I hope you all have a very good start to your week. And I will be talking to you all very soon. So thank you for coming to Behind the Crime Door. And everyone be safe out there, please.